is where you discovered magic.
Where are we going?
To Neverland.
You learned to fly with Peter Pan, fell in love on the Titanic, and made friends for life with Toy Story.
Hello.
Now, there's a whole new world to explore. Find your voice with Poor Things.
I am finding being alive fascinating.
Beat all the odds in Next Goal Wins.
Now we're making some progress.
And find the magic all over again with Wish.
I made a wish on a star, and the star answered.
Get all the magic of movies on Disney+.
Rammies, we have a very special announcement for you. Right Answers Mostly has teamed up with CPC Swimwear to create our own line of swimsuits.
It has been a dream come true. We created 5 different swimsuits in collaboration with CPC, and we could not be more excited.
One swimsuit even has a little special wink at Right Answers Mostly.
We love a wink. These suits are the best. It's the only suits I've been wearing for the past 6 years. They're sustainable, they're locally made, and they just look so good on your body.
I've never felt better in a swimsuit.
Same.
But not only do we have a Ram round of swimsuits, we also have a discount code. Use code RAM10 at checkout to receive 10% off any CPC swimsuits.
We cannot wait to see you in your cute little suits.
It's going to be the best. Okay, goodbye.
Bye. Rammies, if you are a California listener, stop right now, stop whatever you are doing, because we have the most exciting and special discount code for you. We are collaborating with Drew Martin to give you 10% off Drew Martin joints. You know how much we adore this company. They are 100% queer owned. Their joints are made with botanical blends such as rose, chamomile, lemon, ginger, and it just makes you feel like you are smoking such a light and joyous and uplifting joint. The marketing is so good. The branding is just stunning, so it's great for a gift. You can smoke these by yourself and just feel so relaxed. You can smoke them with friends and feel social. It never gives you that sort of panicky feeling like a lot of joints do. We could not recommend them enough. Go to drewmartin.co, use code RAM10 to get 10% off your order. Let us know what you think. Welcome to Right Answers Mostly, a podcast on what you didn't learn in history class but wanted to. I'm your host, Tess Bellomo.
And I'm your other host, Claire Donald. And every week we choose a subject and we dive in and we give you the juicy details all over a cocktail.
Juicy, naughty, a little tipsy.
Yes, scandalous. Informative always.
Yeah, we never shy away from that.
We don't. We're not historians necessarily, and we don't claim to be.
Absolutely not. We want this to be engaging. We want everyone to be learning together, and that's what makes this podcast unique.
Exactly. So follow us on Instagram at Right Answers Mostly.
And make sure to like, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, share all over your social media platforms.
Yes, and get involved. Send us a DM of what subject you want us to cover.
We'll see you every Monday.
XOXO.
Right Answers Mostly.
Get to the important things first.
I'm truly sweating.
It's a big day for you.
It is a big day.
It's a big day for all of us.
It sure is. Guys, today we're going to be talking about the Titanic.
I mean, what a grand subject.
You could say that again, Claire. You could
What
say
a
that again.
grand subject.
You know, it really is. And, you know, I, like many 90s children,
Yes.
especially women, became fascinated with the Titanic because of the movie. Okay, let me just open this bottle of champagne first, because I just cannot do two things at once when I start to talk about this.
And we need champagne. Well, we're celebrating, we're mourning. It's a
little bit of everything.
It's a roller coaster is what it is.
Listen to this. Oh, God. Will I be able to open it? Here we go.
You can do it.
Woo!
Oh, I just screamed into the microphone. I apologize. I can't help myself.
We thought champagne would be fitting.
Yes.
Because they drank a lot of it on the Titanic.
They did.
Well, not everyone.
Until the end.
Well, first class did. God, I mean, it's horrible. We'll get to that. We'll get to that later.
I can't wait to, I mean, talk about class systems and work. And we'll see, I'm sure we'll learn about that later, but.
Yeah, I feel like that was something that I learned. Cheers. Just take a little sip of this before I get into it. My heart is racing. There's just so much emotion already. I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this.
And I feel like all we really know is from the movie.
That's so true. And I feel like I got most of my information from the movie, and then I went to a few Titanic museums and exhibits. There was one in San Francisco where you got like a ticket and it said your fate.
Oh my God.
I went with my mom and my brother, and it was quite dark, honestly.
Did you make it out?
No,
Wow.
no. I think my mom made it out, and my brother and I were third class, and we perished.
Devastating.
Devastating.
And for your mother to leave you behind like that.
But that's why, like, in researching Titanic and in just finding out more about it than I ever knew, the devastation of when you think about everything that happened within 2 hours of not just, I mean,
It was 2 hours?
it did sink in 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Oh my God.
Of like more than just the shipwreck and the deaths, but everything that people had to go through in terms of leaving your family and the class system, and it was wild. And yesterday was a dark day in this research. I'll tell you that much.
Tess sent me a picture of herself crying.
Yeah. My mom called me and she was like, "Hey," and I was like, "I just like can't right now." And she's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I'm researching the Titanic." And she was like,
"Why are you doing that?"
She's like, "Again?"
Again. No, that is the question for Tess. Again.
I mean, truly. So yeah, I've just always felt a connection to the Titanic. Claire thinks I may have died on the Titanic.
I think for sure, if past lives are real, which why not?
Why not?
I think Tess died on the Titanic. I also do think that Tess was first class on the Titanic, so we should explore why you died in that case.
That's true. And
I mean, you could have been Rose.
I could have been Rose.
I know Rose, I don't think, was a real person on the Titanic.
She was not. Mm-hmm. In researching some conspiracy theories about the Titanic, which I'll get to later, some people, I was like, what is this? Some people were like, Jack Dawson was Jay Gatsby. And I was like,
wait,
what are you even talking about?
Like, yeah, they were played by the same actor.
Right. And I was like, guys, we're going too far. And like, that's not even, there's nothing substantial because those are just.
God, people have so much free time on their hands, myself included.
So much free time. But yeah, so Leonardo DiCaprio, I think, was probably what prompted the fascination.
Of course.
And just the movie itself. I mean, when I watched the movie, I think that was the first time I'd ever experienced a piece of art that was so grand and dramatic and beautiful.
It was grand.
You just could not look away.
Yeah, I mean, I remember going to Walmart with my mom and sister and buying the 2-set VHS tapes.
Oh, the 2-set.
The 2 sets, and my mom being like, "You are much too young to be watching this." And I was like, "I must."
I mean, and how could you not?
You can't look away. My
mom didn't let me watch it, and the one beautiful thing about having parents of divorce is that when I went to my dad's house, I was like, "Yeah, like I heard it's like not that inappropriate. It's just like sad." And he was like, "Sure, put it on."
Classic dads.
And so I lied to my mom for a year. Wow. And I was so crazy. I would ask her, I was like, "So then what happens in this part of the movie?" And I'd just be staring at her knowing exactly what happens. So I was like, what a sick child.
I like it. I think that you're smart and resourceful and you know what you want and you got it.
I appreciate that, Claire.
Yeah, I'm always here.
So this was really the first time that I spent hours and hours looking at more facts and details, and I did discover a lot.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to dive in.
So let's get into it. Let me just take another little sip.
What a tough phrase for Titanic.
Ooh, that is
I'm
tough.
so sorry.
But you know what? It was smart. So we have to give you that.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so Titanic. So the Titanic at the time was the largest movable man-made object in all of history.
Wow.
So just to give you a little picture of the magnitude of the actual ship, it was 882 feet long, 175 feet high. It had 840 rooms.
840 rooms?
Yeah, which I never thought about. I guess I never thought about the actual size of this goddamn thing.
Well, also, it's like, what year was this? 1912?
So it was built so it took 2 years to complete.
Of course. Yeah.
So it started in 1912, yeah.
Or it started in 1910.
1910.
Right.
Math, right?
Math.
What is that?
This is a history
That's
podcast, not a math podcast. But no, and also back at that time, I mean, transportation, people are riding horses still.
Exactly.
And then you see this ship.
Exactly. And so, like, especially when I watched the movie, I always was like, why did everybody come to the launch of it?
Yeah.
Because over 100,000 people came to just see it take off.
100,000 people?
100,000 people.
God, coming out of quarantine right now, I'm like, huh?
Truly. But it was just a spectacle. Like, people were like, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, like, imagine... I don't know, like, we can't even probably think of what that would be to us.
No.
Like a high-speed train that goes, like, you know?
I mean, like, seeing the first Tesla, and not even, like, that is as grand as what the Titanic was.
Exactly. But this was just, it was just a moment in history that was hard to even comprehend. It could carry 900 tons, including the passengers and all of their cargo.
Okay.
Which, you know, once again, numbers, science, that's a lot of fucking weight.
Yeah.
That's
tons,
all I know.
when you get into the tons.
Yeah, so it's almost 1,000 tons. And it could go as fast as 23 knots, which for the time was quite fast. And I'll get to that a little bit later because remember that number. I know.
23 knots.
23 knots. That's ominous right there.
Chills.
So it cost for... what it would be today, it cost $100 million to build it.
$100 million? Oh, well, for what it would be today.
Yes, today.
Still, a ton of money.
A ton of fucking money. And
just to build it.
Just to build it. And what's funny is that the movie cost $200 million to make. Hollywood, right? Always having to just show off.
How much of that was Leonardo DiCaprio's pay rate?
They actually didn't get paid that much money for it. I think Titanic took 8 months. The movie took 8 months to film. And it went over, it was supposed to take 8 months. I think it went over by 3 months. And at the end, James Cameron, which now, obviously, he made quite a pretty penny from that. But he completely was just like, I don't even need to get paid. I'm going to put it into more of the set and special effects. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So it was a huge undertaking.
Chills. I actually have chills.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. That's all I wanted was just for you to get chills 3 minutes in.
We're just getting started.
So it took 3,000 men to build the ship. 8 of which died while even building it. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
No,
it's
but
not funny.
It's just like insane
but
that
it's insane.
People are dying to build the ship.
Exactly.
How are they dying?
From accidents, from things falling, electrocution.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Where are they building this?
So they're building it in Belfast.
Okay.
Ireland.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that is where that is, right?
She did a little look to the side.
Yeah, I'm like, you got this, Tess.
And I'm
you got this.
Yes.
So it's built in Ireland. So the White Star Line, which was the company that owned the Titanic and many other ships, they really did not want to compete with other companies in speed of making the boat. They were like, you know what? We're going to take 2 years to build this.
As you should. Because
we want this to be the most luxurious, grand, beautiful ship that anyone has ever seen. And so they were like, we're going to take our time. I was like, men are just dying. They're like, if we could just speed this up.
Sorry.
I mean, it is
absolutely.
You know, so that's what they wanted everyone to focus on.
I mean, after the second guy who died, the first one, it's like accidents happen. That's terrible. After the second one, it's like, guys.
No, and then you get to almost 10 of them. And it's like, maybe let's change
let's rethink some things.
Yeah, the work environment here. And their work schedules were crazy. They were all working 6 days a week. 14-hour days. They were not getting paid anything.
Oh my God. It's hard labor too.
Hard labor. Ooh. And also the pressure. Oh. And so they didn't have pressure in like completing in time, but it just really was like, this has to be perfection because some of the richest people in the world are going to be on this.
So fabulous.
So her maiden voyage began on April 5th, 1912, from Southampton to New York.
Southampton.
England.
Yes, because I think of Southamptons as in New York.
The Hamptons. Yeah, not the Hamptons. They were going to New York.
Wow.
Oh, God, the image of the movie's just like starting to...
I know. So right now we have Jack Dawson just won a poker game and he's just sprinting onto the boat and Rose is all angsty with her terrible mother.
There it is.
That's where we are in the story right now.
That is exactly where we are. And like I said before, 100,000 people are coming just to witness this. You know, tons of press. It was a glorious day, and it was a happy day.
Yeah, can you just imagine walking up to that and also being like, one day maybe I'll get to ride that thing.
Exactly, and people just being so envious of the passengers, and that's what's really, you know, like sorry to bring it back to Jack Dawson, but you know, him going, we're the luckiest son of bitches in the world, you know that? And just like sprinting up to the boat. I know. God, me too.
Wow. Because we know where this is going, guys.
We know where this is going.
Or maybe you don't, and what a ride you're about to be taking.
Wow, and honestly, if you don't know how the Titanic ends, I want to talk to you about where the fuck you've been your whole life.
And I'd like to go there sometime.
But I would actually be fascinated to tell someone the story who didn't know. Okay.
Wow.
So at 12 p.m., the Titanic was cast off from Southampton Dock, towed out by little tugboats.
Oh my gosh.
I know, they're like, yeah, we can do it. That's what the tugboat was saying.
Hardest workers.
Something else that is ironic about the moment that the Titanic was, I don't know the word, launched as a spaceship. What would you...
Taken...
that the Titanic was... It emerged into the water.
Emerged.
Say emerged.
That's great.
There was almost immediately a collision.
Oh my gosh, guys.
I know, like, guys, pull it together.
Pull it together.
Like, just take a breath.
Whew, that's the thing. I feel like they were never taking breaths.
They were never taking a breath because there was this mania around impressing people and making headlines and the historical magnitude of everything. That, yeah, they never took a breath and they were distracted, I would say.
What was the first collision?
The first collision was with a much smaller boat called the USMS New York.
Horrifying to be that little boat.
Horrifying. And it was a 4-foot margin that they missed. This little boat.
4 foot?
4 foot. That's literally such a small margin.
Shorter than I am.
Very.
Oh my God.
But they made it. So that delayed the departure from an hour because they were like, wow, woof. Like, thank God nothing worse is going to happen, right?
Have a drink. Yeah. The worst is out of the way, guys.
Exactly.
Blue skies ahead.
Have a drink. I mean, literally. But they made it. They set sail. And to give you just a little numbers of what it looked like on board, there were 2,223 people aboard.
2,223 people.
1,324 passengers and 908 crew members.
Wow. So almost half was the crew.
Yeah. And when you think about it, especially for first class, there just had to be tons of people on board to, to cater to their every need.
Luxury is first class on Titanic.
No kidding. And funny you say that, Claire, because the next thing I was going to talk about were ticket prices.
Oh, give it to me.
So at first I was reading this and it was, 1912 numbers. And I was like, I don't know where to begin that conversion. So I did a little conversion this morning.
Oh, way to go.
Thank you. I didn't do it myself. I looked it up on Google.
I calculated it in my head.
Yes, I'm smart mathematically like that. Okay, so first class. If you had just a kind of basic first class room. Basic meaning a pretty big room with, a probably queen, king mattress, a nice view, a little couch, a table. That would run at about $3,500 just for the most simple first class room. This is in our world.
And this is per night or overall?
This is overall.
Okay. So at $3,500.
Yes.
Okay. That's expensive.
Very expensive.
Just for a trip?
Yeah, just for
travel.
I mean, it's almost like business economy, let's say.
Yes.
But if you were to get a parlor, which some of those had their own private decks, their own bathroom, really big, just like a suite, that would be $100,000.
$100,000?
$100,000. And there was only a few of those, but, there were some people... some passengers could afford that, like John Jacob Astor. He was the richest man on the ship. He was worth like $240 million at the time. Flash forward, I actually do not know what he did. Some fucking businessman.
Someone look it up.
He was the one who had a fiance who I think was 29 years his junior, who was secretly pregnant when they were on board. He died and she survived.
Oh, wow.
When they found his body, he had almost $3,000 of cash in his jacket. So that's how rich he was. He was like, might as well take some money as I...
$3,000? So I wonder how much he brought on the trip with him.
I mean, probably an insane, incomprehensible amount.
And this is a question. For me, with the prices that are included with the rooms, is that just the room or does that pay for their meals while they're on the boat?
I thought about that when I was driving over and I don't have that information. I think that for first class, it was all that was inclusive.
Included, because, like cruises.
No, totally. I think
usually
I'm
food.
almost positive it was included.
I'm sure they were spending money on other things on that boat, too.
I'm sure. So first class was just an insane amount of wealth. If you were second class, that would be about $1,300 for your ticket. And those rooms, I was looking at pictures this morning, they're not bad. I mean, it almost looks like it's pretty small. There's just like a bed against a wall and then a wardrobe and a couch. It's not like...
That's still so expensive.
I mean, very expensive. And I was like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. So it kind of looked like a room like that you would sleep on a train.
Okay, gotcha. And how long is this journey supposed to be, by the way? Do you know?
The journey was supposed to be 6 days.
Okay.
And it was only 4. Yeah. But second class was still like, it was fine. But then when you get into third class, or as they referred to it as steerage.
Steerage?
Mm-hmm.
That's rude.
What was crazy is that I was looking up the prices in 1912, and it was saying $15 to $40. And so I was like, oh my God, that must have been, I don't know, like couple hundred,
right.
200. But it depended what kind of room you had. But in converting it to prices now, it was $350 to $900, even for third class. Like that $900
For me, I'd be like, that's kind of expensive just for the
same. I'd be like,
part
that's
of it.
luxurious.
Absolutely. And I know that you're on this trip for a while, but like, that's not a vacation necessarily.
No, because the accommodations in third class were very bad.
Well, I saw in the movie rats.
Yes, there were rats. What I found shocking was that there were 2 total bathrooms for all of third class.
What?
1 for women and 1 for men. 2.
1 bathroom for all those women? Mm-hmm. I mean, the men probably peed off the boat, but that is...
You know they did. They were peeing on the boat. Anywhere.
I'm sure anywhere they wanted to.
Anywhere they could.
Horrifying.
But as the movie did show, the third class parties looked a lot more fucking fun than the first class.
I definitely hang with third class. I mean, I would not have a choice but to hang with third class. So I don't know who I think I am, but...
I would hang wherever Jack Dawson was hanging out.
That's right.
Let me fucking tell you. So those are the ticket prices. But when you do think about the Titanic, you have this idea that when, it was launched, it was just like perfection and everything was just like mwah, and just like there were no errors, which is actually not true.
Oh.
Many of the rooms were not even completed. Think about those 840 rooms by the end. They're just like, that one's fine.
What?
And obviously, like, people weren't going in there, but they kind of gave up towards the end of not completing the most used rooms.
I mean, God, I want to judge them, but that is the way I live my life.
I mean, they're like, this is good enough.
Yeah.
It looks good from the outside.
No one's going to see it. I don't need to do it.
It wasn't like insane. It wasn't like distracting or anything, but some of the rooms, the heat wasn't working.
And people were staying in those rooms?
Yes.
Well, that would make me mad because
100%.
I'm paying $900 and I'm not getting heat.
Exactly. Not for first class, but definitely for third class. And some of the rooms that the heat was like on too strong and they couldn't.
Oh, that's way worse than it being cold, I feel.
I know. Well, they probably would have wanted that the night of the sinking. Sorry to bring it up. I'm just like dreading
my head
getting
is in my hands and I'm shaking my head because I know what's coming.
I know, that was dark.
Sure is.
But just to continue, just a picture of life on board. There were 4 restaurants.
Ooh.
1 large swimming pool.
I never thought, sorry, just to go back to restaurants. I mean, in the movie, and yes, I know that the movie is not like all factual, but
it's pretty accurate.
We're bringing it back.
You,
you see them eating, but I never think about them having like restaurants.
I know. It's crazy.
Do they have different cuisines?
I was looking up the menu. Ooh. And first class is just like insane. Just like oysters, filet mignon, just very, luxurious items. Third class was basically just porridge.
Oh, that's tough.
I know.
First 6 days.
But that first class menu, I was like, yummy.
Yummy. You've never met girls who love oysters more than Tess.
That is very true. We would have, even if we were third class, we would have done anything we could to get hands on those oysters.
Right on up there.
And we would have. Mm-hmm. There was a gym. Mm-hmm. There were 2 barbershops.
Cute.
2 libraries.
Nice.
There was a church.
Okay, I can see that.
1,000 bottles of wine. Wow. 850 bottles of liquor. 1,200 quarts of ice cream.
What a way to plan. And that is all you need.
That is really all you need.
Wow, I respect these people. They might have given up on the rooms, but they did not give up on the menu.
They know what the people want. And that's really at the end of the day. You might be too hot, but at least you can have, know that there's 1,200 quarts of ice cream on
Give me
on
a
that ship.
joint and put me in a room with 1,200 quarts of ice cream.
God, no kidding. I imagine them eating like pistachio ice cream. I feel like that was very much of the time.
I love pistachio ice cream.
There were 50,000 pieces of china that were newly imported, never been touched.
Oh my God.
Which that kind of stuff is always what makes me, like, that gives me chills of just all of these things that they had specifically made for the boat.
Oh, just go down.
Just to, yeah, I mean, like, and tons of the artifacts are literally fully intact, pieces of china.
Wild.
I know.
And that china, there's still some, and I might be getting ahead of myself, just like sitting in the bottom of the ocean right now.
Oh, yeah, there's still tons of stuff actually on the Titanic. I mean, like, there's, they find dolls.
It's always the most creepy.
Oh, yeah, it is. And there was an estimated $6 million in cash bonds that the passengers were carrying. So they were not fucking around. These people had jewelry that they were taking to New York.
The heart of the ocean.
Heart of the ocean.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. And we won't even explain it because you better know. Or else you turn this off right now.
Wow. Wait, so were people moving, or were some people just going to see America, or both?
It was a little bit of everything. There was business, there was pleasure,
Right.
There were a lot of immigrants that were going to New York.
I bet.
Mm-hmm. And the immigrants were the only ones that had to have like the lice checks, and just it took them forever to get on the boat.
Oh my gosh.
And off the boat, even when they were rescued. And I'll get to that later. But so the juxtaposition of like, these immigrants coming over that are just in the worst accommodations, but very, hopeful to go to America for their future. And then you have, the Macy's department store owners. They were a couple. They were on the boat.
Can you believe that, guys? Like the Macy's department store, Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade department store owners were on the Titanic.
Yep. And they were probably just going for, they were probably over in England for pleasure. And then they were just going back, and they were like, might as well just get a ticket on the Titanic.
So crazy.
There were just tons of millionaires. This guy named Benjamin Guggenheim.
Guggenheim. Mm-hmm. That's in New York, right? The Guggenheim?
I think so, right? I'm like, who the hell is that? I probably should have put who these people are.
I know the name, the Guggenheim. I think it's a museum.
I think so. He had we can fact check that later. He had a mistress on board, a French mistress, and that was like very controversial. And people would like try to like sneak a peek at them.
Oh my gosh, because he had a mistress?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, line up, guys, just look around. I'm sure every one of these guys has a mistress.
Truly.
He just, at least treats her to the Titanic.
Yeah, no kidding. There was the unsinkable Margaret Brown, Molly Brown, who's in the movie.
I love her.
She was a real person, and she actually was the reason that one of the lifeboats went back to get people that were drowning, and none of the other lifeboats did. Lifeboat 6.
Pour one out for Lifeboat 6, being the real heroes.
But we will get to that later. So yeah, it was,
What did Molly Brown do?
she had married very rich.
Okay.
And
she was a good person.
She was a good person, and she was widowed.
Okay.
But she had tons of money I think she was actually married multiple times and just had tons of money from her ex-husbands.
Good for you, girl.
Good for her.
Mm-hmm.
And she did survive. So this was 4 days, they did have 4 days of really just fun. Everyone felt lucky to be there, and there were parties every night. People were dining, people were mingling. It was like, everyone had to pinch themselves,
Just
sort of
soaking
feeling.
up each other's awesomeness.
Literally. And, the crew, even the crew members were like, oh my God, we get to work on the Titanic. I mean, there was just this feeling of like awe in everything.
And I imagine the crew members had parties of their own when they could.
Oh, I'm sure. And the captain was said to be dining with passengers every night, just
wow,
like.
Of course, they're like, our captain.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and the architect was on the boat, Thomas Andrew. And so it really just was, it was a party.
4 days straight of a party.
4 days straight of a party until April 14th, 1912.
What
and
happened?
this feels like the part in the VHS where then you put away the fun first half, and
that is what it is.
And this is how I feel right now, and it's always tough to transition into it.
It's time
but
to
at some
put
point
away
we
the
need
first
to.
half of the VHS, guys.
Exactly.
Pop in the second one.
Pop in the second, and it's going to be a little bit of a different feeling. And I hate to say this, but this is just where it gets absolutely fascinating because you just realize every single possible thing that could have went wrong. And this was some actually fascinating information that I did find out. So the senior wireless operator, so he's the guy in the transmission room getting all of the messages from other boats, lookouts, all of that.
Which is crazy technology in 1912 to me.
I thought that too. I'm like, wow. So like, you can just talk to another boat. I mean, like it's not as easy as you can now,
Right.
but they're getting essentially not telegrams, but like what's it called? Yeah.
Like we had a great party last night.
Like, XOXO Titanic.
It probably is actually telegram.
Or it's like,
the wire
Yeah,
things.
whatever you're reading, it's like not Braille. You guys know what we're talking about. You're getting these little like
Yes.
there it is. So
Now we know.
the wireless operator's name was Jack Phillips.
Okay. Oh wow. She just did a face, y'all. So Jack is up to something.
Yeah, I was shook by this, and I okay.
Okay.
So he starts to receive warnings of icebergs from other vessels further into the west around 9 a.m.
Where are they at this point?
At this point, they are. Where are they? Where the hell are they?
I can also look up where was the.
I want to say they're by like the Gulf Stream.
North Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, I don't think.
Whatever that means. So where are they?
Yeah, I don't think it's like I don't know about like the specific location.
Well, nothing was around there.
No,
But somewhere in the North Atlantic Ocean. We just looked it up.
Nothing was around there. So at 9 a.m., there's warnings of smaller icebergs, which are called growlers. And they're small and they're harder to see. They're still dangerous, but it wouldn't, issue emergency or anything urgent to give to the captain. So usually when you get something like this, you get this sort of message. You need to pass it on to the captain in 2 hours because it's like nothing's crazy.
Just a heads up.
Yeah, just like, hey, just like there's these little guys, they're everywhere, but we'll be good.
They're growling.
The growlers. So at 10:15, the warning was passed to the captain.
AM.
Okay,
so he did it within the 2-hour time period.
he did. And the captain was like, nah, it's good, not worried about it. Weather's looking great. I truly have nothing. I'm not concerned in the least.
He's like, I have a brunch to go to.
But actually, literally.
God.
I'll get to that. So,
God. Not too different, Captain.
no, he would be our friend.
Yes.
May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace.
So at 11 a.m., this captain, without any explanation, cancels the lifeboat drills for the crew.
Those aren't something that you should probably cancel.
The crew had never practiced before how to disassemble the lifeboats.
Oh, wait, what?
Yep, because I should mention, we should go back to
Yes.
a little bit about the vanity of the boat and the cosmetics of the boat is a huge part of why it sank. Because these fucking men were just obsessed with breaking records, how everything looked on the deck. They thought that if there were too many lifeboats, it would look cluttered. So by like safety, like whatever the official safety organization is with boats like this, they said you should have 64 lifeboats.
Okay. What 64 lifeboats also, let's think about, there's like over 2,000 people on this boat.
Still not enough.
No.
That's still not enough. They said that they should have 64. And then they were like, you know what? How about let's agree on 43. And then they said, you know what? It's going to look awful with 43. Let's do 20.
Guys, please. 20?
20 lifeboats.
It's not, oh my gosh. Obviously, that's not even covering first class. And also, who cares?
Who cares? And it was all about clutter. If the boat had been properly equipped, 53% of the boat would have survived, which is even crazy. Like, so there wasn't enough to save. They did not care even about saving everybody.
Did they just have in their mind, was it vanity? And did they also just have in their mind, like, this is the unsinkable ship? And why did they think it was not unsinkable, insinkable ship?
Unsinkable.
Unsinkable.
Yeah. They thought it was the unsinkable ship because of the technology, quote unquote, for building it, they were building with iron bolts instead of steel bolts, which for that time was like revolutionary and thought to be a lot stronger and sturdier. Actually, ironically, it made it even worse.
Oh, God.
And also which is fascinating and once again, ironic and heartbreaking, 2 of the Titanic's compartments could have flooded with water and been able to stay afloat for basically the entire night and would have been rescued by a boat. And they thought that out. 4 of her compartments flooded with the sinking. So when you think about all of them being like, we're going to be 100% okay, having those compartments, that was revolutionary for the time.
Right.
I mean, that is crazy. But we will get to that in a second. So the crew members, they had never practiced before how to, and these are not just little like fucking floaty, these are huge. They're supposed to all sit 65.
Okay, well, that makes it a little bit better, but still.
Yes, still. They are very big. They're a lot bigger than I even thought that they were. But, they're hanging up. You have to know how to, like, get them down with the ropes. You have to put them into the water. Each boat would have taken about 10 minutes per boat to properly get a full house down into the water safely.
That's a big time chunk.
It's a big time chunk.
It's not like an airplane where an oxygen mask comes down and you put it on your face.
Exactly. There was lots of steps. It was not easy. So to this day, no one knows why the captain just said it's not necessary. But I think once again, it was this arrogance.
An ego.
And an ego about the boat. And that's what, one of the investors was on board. And he was the one who was saying, like, let's go faster. Come on, let's get these people, like, let's show up to New York and shock the papers and let's get there a day faster. So this entire time she was going 23 knots, which is a very fast speed for a boat to be going at this time. And that is a maximum speed.
I believe you.
Which you probably shouldn't be going the entire time, especially with the conditions in which the Atlantic was filled with icebergs.
I bet.
It was
In
one of the
April?
coldest Aprils in years. And, you could say that was very irresponsible.
You could say.
You could say. So then we get to noon. At noon, Phillips receives the second iceberg warning. He gives it to the captain at 2 p.m., 2 hours later. The captain is still saying there is nothing to worry about.
This captain.
And then we get into the evening at 5:30 where the temperature just drops 10 degrees.
It's cold.
It's
Do you
very
know what
cold.
the temperature is?
I know the temperature of the water is 28 degrees.
Fahrenheit?
Okay.
That's cold.
So it's freezing.
Yes.
Literally
Below freezing.
A few degrees below freezing. I want to say it was in like the 40s or something. I mean, so that night, the crew and everyone were just like, if you go outside, make sure there was just tons of announcements of like, it's a chilly evening.
Mm-hmm.
Bundle up. Like, ladies, make sure to bring your gloves. It was just everyone was shook by the temperature drop. So because of the few iceberg warnings, they were not panicking, but they did have a plan. So at 5:50 p.m., instead of 5:30 like they had originally planned, the Titanic changes course from southwest to due west. And this was supposed to direct the Titanic into the area of the Gulf Stream that was free of icebergs. But 1912 was not a normal year for ice.
Of course it's not.
So cold water had actually pushed the warm Gulf Stream further south. So they actually were going into worse territory.
Oh.
I know, I have chills.
It's just like everything that is going wrong is going, like, is.
Truly. So this is the part that is insane that I did not know. So at 9:40 p.m., Phillips receives the last iceberg warning that said that there were iceberg fields just 15 miles away. And they're going full speed. They still have not.
And this is a huge boat.
This is a huge boat, and they have not decreased the speed at all, even with these warnings. So the message was not prefixed with MSG, which is a signifier that it's urgent and the captain needs to see it immediately.
It wasn't.
It was not. They forgot to put it on there.
Oh.
So
Probably like your first priority should be on there.
Literally. So there was no sense of urgency. So Phillips just didn't see it as anything that needed to be shown to the captain. And he was busy sending passengers telegrams as he would do every night. So he was just, walking down down the hallways delivering telegrams.
I feel like he just wanted to be Mr. Popular.
Well, this man, I think, probably had a very... Actually, I'm not sure. No, I'm sure he died. Yes, I was going to say he probably had a very bad survivor guilt. But
also, it's just like what's even more devastating is right now I'm thinking of what everyone is doing and they have no idea what is ahead of them.
That is always the saddest thing of just like eating dinner and, putting their kids to bed. So another ship, the Californian, sends a message to the Titanic saying that they had stopped sailing for the evening due to the dangerous ice. So they had completely just stopped, which is crazy. They were like, we're not even fucking doing this until the morning. Like, we can't see. It was also it was like a moonless night. So the visibility was extremely poor, which had like shocked the crew once the sun went down. They were like, oh, damn, it is like fucking pitch black out here.
That's so scary.
Which is terrifying. So the Californian sends this being like, hey, Titanic, we've stopped. You probably should too. Phillips was very stressed out about completing the telegram delivery, and he was getting annoyed at all these iceberg warnings. He thought it was just a little bit of a nuisance. So he responded, and I quote, "Shut up. I am busy."
Sorry. What?
Uh-huh.
Busy with what?
Busy delivering fucking Guggenheim a message saying something
Shut up,
stupid.
I'm busy. That's truly an 8-year-old's response.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I don't mean to laugh, but how outrageous.
Outrageous. So this was the final warning that could have saved them.
Can you imagine also being the Californian and getting that back and be like, well, fuck you then?
Well, funny, because the Californian then said, fuck Titanic, we are shutting off all communication to them. Which also, guys, like, talk about stubborn. I get that's a horrible message, but you're also...
You're in this together. You're out at sea together.
You're in this together. And the Californian was actually just 20 miles away from them at this point.
Oh, so close.
Which could have saved them in less than an hour.
Oh, my God. If they had their communication on?
If they had their communication on.
So this is a lesson in communication in general.
Communication in general, and also your ego. Like, It doesn't matter. Safety first.
Safety first.
Don't fuck
always.
everything up because you're mad at someone being a dick.
Remember that going out on a ship. Remember that going out at night with your friends.
Remember it always.
Always.
The Titanic can teach us a lot.
It sure can.
So the boat's going equivalent to 24 miles per hour at this point. And another horribly ironic thing is that the watch guards... they did not have binoculars because someone that had disembarked, a crew member that had disembarked before the Titanic ever set sail, he like went on and was doing final checks. He accidentally locked the binoculars in lockers and then took the key. So they didn't have access to binoculars.
Honey.
The people that are looking out for icebergs do not have binoculars.
What's the point then at that point? Like, are you just sitting up there playing cards?
Right. And one had very poor eyesight, why was he hired for this?
There should be regulations around that, you'd think.
You would think. If they're checking for lice, you would think that they'd be checking for...
binoculars.
Yeah. So once again, something that is just so crazy and it doesn't make sense. So, they're doing the best they can to look out. At 11:39 p.m., just 1,000 yards away, one of the watch guards, Frederick Fleek, yells, "Iceberg right ahead." I know, but it was too late.
Ugh.
The iceberg, they estimate to be 50 to 100 feet high and 200 to 400 feet wide.
It's huge.
It is huge.
Massive.
So if it's let's say it's 400 feet wide and the boat is almost 900 feet long.
It's half the size of the Titanic.
Yes, it is a huge fucking iceberg.
Also, how close they had to be. Well, it is huge, but like they don't have binoculars, and then all of a sudden it's just in front of your face.
Well, that's how because like there's no light.
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
So they're from the second that he yells "iceberg right ahead," and, you know, he hits the bell. It's an emergency. 30 seconds from that point to when they crashed into it.
30 seconds?
30 seconds. So when immediately this happens, crewmate Murdoch demands engines be put into reverse immediately and the ship be steered to the right so it wouldn't collide with it in the front.
But they've already hit it.
Oh, not yet. Yeah, so this
Okay.
is when they're like, what the fuck do we do? We have 30 seconds to think. They put it into reverse, try to slow it down, and steer it all the way to the right. Like, and I just remember that scene in the movie where...
The movie is playing out in my mind
I
right
know,
now.
where he's, you know, turning the...
Wheel.
Turning the wheel. Like, what's that
The
word?
steering wheel? I don't
And
know.
he, like, turns it all the way and it stops and he's just shaking.
Oh.
I mean, can you imagine? So, in fact, if they had just kept going straight and just collided with it head on, it would have saved them another 2 hours. But because they steered it to the right, this iceberg is scratching she is puncturing every compartment of the boat all the way down 200 feet of the boat.
And the boat is 400 feet?
The boat is about 800 feet long.
800 feet.
But that...
I have chills.
I know. So that takes up all those compartments.
And so now is it just like water can just gush through?
Water is literally gushing through.
Gushing.
And just immediately. So passengers that night said that they felt like there was an earthquake. There was this huge shock. But immediately the crew was like, nothing to be concerned about. We did hit a little bit of iceberg. And at this point, a lot of people are still thinking she's fine. She's not fine.
It's so sad when we humanize the Titanic as a she.
I know. And you know,
Keep going.
I think that's what even makes it like more sad.
It is.
Because she is like this feminine wonder. Oh God.
Feminine.
Feminine wonder. Oh God. So the captain demands for an emergency request from the Californian, but hey, they're nowhere to be found.
Well, told them to shut up.
Literally, truly.
They're like, well, we will.
So they don't know what to do. They know that a fellow ship, the Carpathia, is 4 hours away.
4 hours.
And when the captain found this out, he immediately knew that the ship was going down.
That feeling.
Yeah. Oh, God. I'm sure just the look. I mean, I met the look in his eyes in the movie. Because, yeah, she took 2 hours and 40 minutes to sink. So, and the Carpathia did everything they could to go as fast as they could. She was meant to be going 14 knots. She went 17 to try to get them, but 4 hours. I mean, she was doing the best she could.
Can you also imagine being the captain on that ship and
Being
feeling
like,
this
fuck,
responsibility
for the
to get there,
Titanic.
for the Titanic.
Oh my God! And this is all at like fucking midnight. Why does everything bad happen at night? It just makes it
really
so much
does.
worse.
It does.
So the captain's panicking. Carpathia's coming. He knows basically this is ill-fated and it's doomed. But he demands for women and children to be loaded into the lifeboats first.
So did they make an announcement? Do you know? And if
it was very hush hush. So
course,
they
you don't want
had,
people to
you know, a crew go to first class and knock on the door and said, hey, you know what? Just to be safe, we do want to load you guys into these lifeboats. It's going to be fine. Let's just like better safe than sorry. So people were bothered by the inconvenience. So the lack of urgency was detrimental to the deaths.
I don't know which would have been worse because it's almost like if they came with panic, then chaos is like, it's not more effective.
It's a fine line, you know,
Right.
It's almost like when you're trying to calm down a child, you know, it's just kind of like, let's just try to be calm.
And also that crew member probably knowing we're not going to get out of this alive.
Totally. And the captain 100% knew. I think some of the crew were more oblivious. So people were hesitant to get on these lifeboats. They didn't feel comfortable leaving the ship. They didn't think that they were in danger. Also, women and children first. Can you imagine, you know, being with your husband, being like, no, I'm good. If he can't go, I'm going to stay. At this point, an hour into it, it's still, the Titanic looked pristine. You didn't know what was going on under, which was just being flooded. And people were, you know, people in the boiler rooms were dying.
Oh my gosh.
But no one up top, physically and emotionally, knew what was going on.
Right.
So the first boat is launched an hour after this happens, which is also crazy. They could have
They
could have done this immediately, but nobody wanted to get on. The first one only held 28 out of 65 people.
Why?
Because they just couldn't.
They
That was
couldn't
like
get people
those were
to
the only
go?
people that wanted to go.
I mean, I would not want to leave my significant other or if I had a brother or.
Oh my God. I wouldn't either. And I think like as I get older and I just start thinking about this tragedy, it's like it's so much just more about the Titanic sinking. It's like, morally, what do you do?
Right.
Emotionally, like, can you imagine? Like, I just got so upset yesterday thinking if I was on this boat with my mom and my brother, I would not say, you stay here and I'm going to go.
Right. Like my life is not worth more than yours.
No. And so like,
of course we want to send the children out, but.
Of course. But it's like, and so then, you want to go with your kid, but then you have to, the whole thing is just disgusting that they even did it in that way, because it's just putting such a.
But if they didn't do it in that way, they probably would have just been like first class, you go.
No, I know.
Which was probably how it was anyways.
It was. And they didn't tell third class until like 2 hours in. And then they also only took, they blocked off some of the rooms and they put the gates up because they wanted to load first class first.
Oh my God.
The whole thing is just disgusting. So the boat was taking on 400 tons of water per minute.
Per minute.
Yep. The water was 28 degrees. So most of the people that died on the Titanic did not die from drowning, but they died from hypothermia, usually within 15 to 45 minutes.
I mean, not to be gruesome, but in a way, it's almost like faster and it hits you. I'm sure your body and your mind must shut down at some point.
They do say it is a peaceful death.
I've heard that with drowning, but I imagine also with the hypothermia, it's just like
you just start to slowly shut down.
I think that you lose your mind a little bit too.
You do, and I'm sure just with, like the sounds you're hearing, and I mean, God, I'm sorry, but it's just.
No, but we have to talk about it.
We have to talk about it, and so people are,
screaming.
Some people are throwing objects off of the boat and just jumping into the water because they don't want to deal with actually going down the ship, so they think that they can float on something.
Right. And
survive like that. Some people died from suicide that night because they were like, just get me off of this boat. So in the meantime, the crew is panicking. 2 of the 20 lifeboats just floated away without anyone in it because they fell and they just ended up going into the water and flipping over. So no one could even get on them.
The frustration.
The frustration. And so while this is happening, and some people are in the water, they are aware, or are in the lifeboats and safe. They are aware that they're looking around them and they're like, this boat is filled with 3 people and it could save 65. Right. Let's go back, and we're 50 feet away from watching people screaming and dying. Let's go back and save them. And there was a disagreement between like basically half of the passengers said, if we go back, they are going to trample us and they are going to, our boat is going to tip over. Look at them. It's crazy. Because a lot of people were struggling for 45 minutes before they died.
Right. It's like hysteria.
And other people were like, those are our men. Those are our husbands. Why would we not want to go back?
Chills. What a moral dilemma. And there's no right or wrong answer.
No, because we could say what monsters, but we can also think about ourselves and being so terrified and looking, I know.
Chills all over my body.
I know, me too. Of just looking out and just seeing this happen with your own eyes and being like, oh, so we might die too if we all go back.
Just having to hear the noises would just.
Well, Ava Hart, a second glass survivor on Lifeboat 14, quotes, "The sounds of people drowning are something that I cannot describe to you, and neither can anyone else. It's the most dreadful sound, and then there is a terrible silence that follows it." I know.
I have such intense chills right now. The silence after that must have been the most deafening thing you could hear.
And they're just watching this happen for 2 hours.
Nothing more horrible.
And so like I mentioned before, Molly Brown in Lifeboat 6 was the one lifeboat that went back to get other people.
I can't believe that there was only one lifeboat that went to get back people.
There was only one. And a lot of the women that were on the lifeboat, were hysterical and they were like, let's go back. And then the crew members, some were said to be very aggressive at being like, shut up, we're not doing that. I'm in charge of this lifeboat. And no, because, they're protecting their own life.
They are.
So it is just such a moral dilemma.
No one's in their right minds at this point.
No one is. I mean, this is beyond what you could even imagine. So something I do find heartwarming and heartbreaking is that the orchestra on the Titanic was made up of 8 men from Liverpool. They were all in their early 20s and 30s. The youngest was 21. They were said to be some of the last crew and just people standing on the boat playing for the passengers as it went down to the final moments. It said that the last song was rumored to be Nearer, My God, to Thee. Oh my God. And that one of them said to another, gentleman, it has been an honor playing with you this evening. I know.
I can't.
And they literally were trying to calm everyone down until the boat split in half and dove into the bottom of the sea.
How do you keep your composure at that point?
I don't know. I mean, what strength and
what a commitment to your craft. Let me tell you that.
That is a commitment to your craft.
Let me tell you that.
And they didn't try to get on the lifeboats. They knew that is what they had to do.
Wow, men from Liverpool.
Men from Liverpool. Always some good ones.
We think.
These
guys were.
So, there's really not much else to say about. I mean, you can imagine the last and the final moment was when the bow of the ship ended up, completely
just going up
and then
down.
Like, how do you even
and down?
And so people were jumping off before that because of the suction of that was so crazy. I mean, she landed at the bottom of the sea in like a matter of seconds because of her weight. So people at this point were all just in the water trying to do their best to survive.
And do you think that some people got suction cupped down and pulled
some
under?
Some people
and
did.
Drowned?
And also some people stayed in their rooms because they're like, why be up?
Well, of course.
Like we know we're gonna die.
It's like, so that couple on the movie was supposed to be the Macy's couple. I wonder if they actually stayed in their room.
They did. They stayed in their rooms till the end because they said we're gonna be here together for this. Who was it? I need to fact check this. I want to say that it was Benjamin Guggenheim who said. I should have found the exact quote, but he essentially was like, I dressed up tonight. I'm dressed like a man. I'm going to go down
like a man.
And he stayed in his suit in the restaurant drinking champagne. And that is how.
Well, if there was any way to go down, honestly.
Having some oysters and drinking Dom Perignon.
That's the way you go down, and that is what heaven is.
And you could say that, Claire. You could say that. So within 2 hours and 40 minutes, 68% of the entire boat perished.
How long is the actual Titanic movie?
3 hours and 23 minutes, I think.
So that is crazy. From start to finish of that movie is longer than it took for the actual Titanic to sink.
Yep. And the second half is like 2 hours. So it's essentially, and I think that James Cameron had that in mind of being like, let's take you through every step of the way because, it starts out and it's very calm and it's very collected.
It's exciting.
And then it just gets, crazier and crazier as the minutes go on. But yeah, almost 70% of the boat died.
70%.
39% of first class died. 58% of second class died, and 76% of third class died.
Oh my God.
1 child from first class died. 52 from third class died.
Oh.
Something else that's just very upsetting is that, obviously the captain goes down with his ship is protocol. And the captain went into, what's the room called? Like at the front where the wheel is and everything, like
the lookout room.
That's
the technical term.
Yeah, whatever's at the front of the ship where like you're driving the thing. He knew basically the exact point to go in there where everything would explode because of the glass, and he would go out quickly that way. And he also wanted to be at the front of the ship.
Oh, that just sounds. I guess it all hits you so fast. But
I guess so, but it's also like these are the kind of things that people would have to be thinking about. Which way should I go? Which way is quickest? Which way is less painful?
Absolutely. That's a horrifying way to go.
Horrifying. And the architect decided to go into the parlor, basically like as the boat was completely tipping. And he wanted to look at his favorite painting before he went. So he just stayed in there till the end.
I feel like his way is so much more lovely than the captain's way. It just seems so violent.
It seems very, very violent. But I'm sure...
Oh, the architect. Wait, he was looking at a painting. His just favorite painting
his favorite
in general?
painting on the ship. Wow. Which, God, something about that is also so eerie that, like...
So eerie.
You know, the architect, this is every piece of every inch of this boat is his design and his baby and his vision. And it's like he knew exactly where to go.
The extreme guilt you must feel as it's going, which also, like, it wasn't him.
No, it was so many factors. You know, and the captain, the guilt too. I mean, no wonder he wanted to go violently, being like, wow, I ignored the lifeboat training and I wasn't paying attention as I should have been to, you know, these fucking messages when I was dining with the passengers at brunch, being like, don't bother me.
He was like trying to have a hot girl summer and it was going down.
Yeah, the ego. The ego.
It's devastating.
I'm trying to think of anything else I missed.
Yeah, anything else? I mean...
yeah, I mean, a lot of the crew shot themselves towards the end.
Well, I don't even want to go there, but that seems to be the fastest way.
Yes. And a lot of the first class were trying to pay off. A lot of the men were like, here, take this cash. Like, let me on the boat.
We've all seen that meme about the Republicans.
We sure have. And that is in the movie. Cal is like, here. And then, you know, Murdoch, who's the one who said, iceberg right ahead. He's like, your money is no good here. Like, look around you.
But I mean, honestly, though,
sweetheart,
yeah,
cash?
What am I going to do with it?
Yeah, you can't Venmo. Like, goes into your account.
Yeah,
like,
even it could. I'm not going to be able to use this later.
Literally, the cash is going to go into the water and get.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
I wonder how much cash was lost on the ship.
Oh my god! I mean, if fucking John Jacob Bastard had $3,000 just on him, as his body was found with that, who knows how much cash?
Who knows? And the jewelry and the paintings.
600 million of just like insurance of all of these.
And I don't know if this obviously, well, this could have happened, but it didn't actually happen with Rose. But in the movie, she's like, it's this new artist, Picasso.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And it's just so devastating because obviously we know this, like one life is not more valuable than the other.
Exactly. And I think that is just, you know, such a lesson in a lot of history of being like, so, you know, someone decided who could be saved and, you know, survived because of their class. And it's just absolutely devastating. The Carpathia ended up arriving in 3.5 hours. So she just basically missed them by an hour.
Ugh.
She also encountered 6 icebergs along the way. So it's not like they were in the same territory. Right. It was terrifying.
And that field of icebergs.
And dark, completely dark. They were going through the exact same conditions.
What heroes.
Huh?
So what heroes?
What heroes? So the Carpathia ended up rescuing 706 people.
Was the Carpathia is how you say it.
Carpathia,
was that like a luxury ship like the Titanic, or was it a working ship? Or?
It was still like, it wasn't a luxury ship. It was kind of just like a more basic.
But it's
still transporting people, just like
the
Titanic was, in the same sort of fashion, but not
not
as elegant. And something I never even thought about before was that apparently the Carpathia passengers, you know, because they had to then travel back to New York all together, which I think took, I want to say 3 more days. So it took them 3 days to get back. And the Carpathia passengers just like selflessly assisted with the Titanic survivors. They offered them their rooms, their clothes, their food. There was just like so much camaraderie and like beauty in, you know, forming those relationships for those 3 days.
You just have to sit in your trauma on a boat.
And exactly. Go back on a boat.
The scene of the crime.
Can you imagine just how terrified you must be? And once again, you know, the icebergs were crazy, so they had to navigate that, going 56 miles off course just to even, you know, protect themselves. And you know, they made it back to New York. Obviously, the headlines were insane.
Did people know? Were they able to send something to New York and say this is what's happened?
Yeah. So the morning after, there were newspapers at like, you know, 5 a.m, and I just remember this one picture of like this little boy who's delivering them, and it just says like Titanic, like, what did it say? Just like the number of deaths. I mean, or not the number of deaths because they didn't know that then, but I think basically just like the devastation.
The devastation. And also, like, unfortunately, with more media, we see more tragedy every day. But if you think about it then, I mean, there were some big wars that our country had gone through, but nothing like this.
Nothing like that. And, you know, I think just everything from the magnitude of the boat, the people on it, how new everything was.
It's supposed to be this fabulous thing.
This fact that, you know, and the White Star Line had been operating for, I want to say 10 years, and they had carried over 200 million people in all of their expeditions, and 2 people had died.
Wow. Why did those people die?
I don't know, actually. I think it was more circumstantial of like if someone was old or sick and died on the boat.
Things happen.
But nothing like this had ever happened before. And, you know, her maiden voyage.
Wow, it's so devastating.
It's just so devastating. And that many people in just 2 hours, you know, there's almost 2,000 people.
And just imagine, oh my gosh, imagine back then, they didn't have technology where you could call someone and say, like, I'm okay, I'm safe. So you have a family member on the Titanic and you hear it went down.
And you don't even know. Oh my God. And you don't know who's saved and who's not. And, you know, I'm sorry, I just burped.
Champagne will do it to you.
That's true. You know, they ended up being able to rescue some of the bodies.
To take them back?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and they could identify a lot of them. You know, because
you're
also frozen, so that kind of helps
right
in terms of
the deterioration.
Yes. But something else that just, like we were talking about before, that always just chills me is that, like, so many artifacts are fully intact. You know, like
at the bottom of the ocean.
Yes, and they've rescued a lot of it, and some of it is still down. I mean, more than we even think is still down there. But when you look at that footage of like the fireplaces and the hallways and the decals on the door and the doorknobs, it's like it was never touched, and she's just sitting down there.
Oh, when they show in the movie the artifacts that are sitting on the ocean floor,
and those that's real footage.
Is that real footage? I was going to ask
because he went down there like 17 times.
Wow. I mean, you and James Cameron just meet
and, like,
and
James,
have a chat.
Can we send this to him?
Yeah, really, because I feel like if they were ever kindred spirits,
I know.
Here they are. But it's also so haunting when he shows that footage and you hear the music playing in the background.
Oh, God.
Or just what could have been.
I know.
What a tragedy and also it wasn't just our country, it was the world, because there were people from all over on that ship.
Exactly. It was just a variety of life and people and experiences and stories, and, you know, it just happened so quickly, and it could have just been salvaged so easily.
And it could have been what it was supposed to be if people just would have put their egos aside the whole time.
It's true. Yeah. The egos, there are a few conspiracy theories, which some of it, I don't know why it like makes me feel almost mad.
Let's hear it.
Hearing these conspiracy theories.
Most conspiracy theories almost do. I mean, some of them you're like, huh?
Well, because I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Like, there are certain things that are like, they were going so fast because there was this like unmanageable fire in the boiler room that they actually had to get there at a certain time because of safety reasons. So they were like, let's go faster so that like this doesn't blow up, essentially.
I feel like a fire would be easier to put out than a whole tear in the ship.
So all these conspiracy theories that I read, it was like, this makes no sense because it just doesn't make any sense. Like, they're all pretty stupid. A few other ones are that J.P. Morgan planned the disaster to kill his rivals on board.
Sonia,
what do you think about this?
You don't touch the Morgan letters.
You don't touch the Morgan letters.
Wow.
Housewives of New York, anyone?
Yeah.
Which also doesn't even make sense because they, like, you know, in understanding that the business side of it, like, people that were his rivals actually weren't. It just was like this stupid shit.
Also, it's like so much easier, not to get too dark, but to kill like 2 people without having to take down a whole boat.
Right. And so then they were like, well, what's with the iceberg then? Like, I don't think this is...
He did not go back and
he didn't plant that. That would have been difficult. One that is fascinating to a lot of people is that it wasn't actually the Titanic that sank. It was her sister ship, the Olympic.
Why? Where did they get that?
So this conspiracy theory claims that some people found the Olympic too severely damaged to be profitable, and so at some point switched it with the Titanic to purposely ditch the damaged ship, reap the insurance money, and kill a bunch of people in the process.
What?
Yeah.
I don't buy that one.
Don't buy that one either. A Mummy's Curse doomed the Titanic is another one.
I mean, of course.
Because the
Always
ship's numbers, when looking in a mirror, reads "No Pope" backwards.
Guys, who thinks of these?
I don't know. You know, those are really the only ones that were. Then that fucking Jack Dawson is Jay Gatsby, which I was like, let's all.
Well, I
has
have
nothing
one
to do
big
with.
conspiracy theory that I feel like we just can't look past.
What?
Could the door hold both?
Claire,
Jack
I'm
and
upset
Rose?
you brought it up. I'm upset you brought it up.
We had to bring it up. We had to bring it up. Could the door hold Rose and Jack? Did Jack have to die?
Okay, well, this ruined one of my relationships. Just kidding. I only went on 3 dates.
She's not kidding, guys. Don't believe her. She's not kidding.
I'm not really kidding. It wasn't a relationship, but it did ruin
A date.
a courtship, you could say.
Yep, you could
arguing about this because, you know, I'm defensive of the movie, I'm defensive of Rose, I'm defensive of Jack. And so I think it wouldn't have been able to hold both of them, or else it's like, why even fucking... But I do think he should have, like, made a smaller door in the movie so that people wouldn't get so upset.
So that people wouldn't focus on that.
I argued that that because of physics, they both wouldn't have been able to fit on. But then people were like, no, because of physics, it's actually...
They would.
They would. Because it's about surface area.
When in doubt, say because of physics.
Physics. I hardly passed physics.
I never took it.
So it was one of the worst things I've ever experienced in my life. I've never felt less smart. But guys, that's all I have for you.
Wow, what a journey. What a journey.
Yeah, it really takes
A turn.
it takes a turn, and it does weigh heavy on my heart.
Everyone has to watch this movie after this.
We should watch it
Right now.
Yeah, like
Cancel all plans.
yeah, we have a meeting after this. Just like that's good, right? She's
Close the
like,
blinds.
and just cry all day.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt yesterday. I was like, Tess, you gotta get out of the house because one more little thing. I remember this memory so vividly. I think I was in 2nd grade, and I was watching the movie on a Saturday, as I often did. Mm-hmm. And my mom, I remember her coming to the living room and being like, okay, like turn it off. We have to go to ice skating lessons now. And I was weeping. I was like, you can't make me go. And she was like, we have to go.
Also so triggering to say ice.
I know. It was too much for me.
You can't make me go.
And she turned it off, and I was just on the floor being like, all these people died. I don't have to go to ice skating. And she was like, we have to. We're going to be fine for the lesson if we don't go.
This just really affected you as a child. I feel like for me, I was like, let's watch the sex scene again because I've never seen anything like it.
I'd be I'd be out for a day. Still am.
Still am. We need to take a break from this story.
We do. I do feel it started to creep into my heart in a way that I might not be able to come back from. So
I know I keep going back to the movie, but it's just such a great movie. And if you haven't sat down and turned on the trailer for that movie, how many times did we do that during quarantine?
Too many.
It's what got us through, I
One
think.
time our friend Allison was like, stop it. I can't watch this again. You guys have watched this 3 times in a row.
For Allison, it was a sexual awakening to Leonardo DiCaprio, which it will be for you too.
Yeah, that was crazy. At 27, I want to say at the time, she was like,
Yeah.
whoa, I've
Yeah.
never noticed how beautiful he is before.
Go do yourself a favor and go watch this movie.
You know, I will say that the Titanic brought me a sexual awakening.
Of course.
And it did also just bring me my favorite historical event. And I know it's sad because so many lives were lost, but I honor it. And I find the story just completely mesmerizing and tragic and serendipitous in the worst fucking way possible.
Absolutely.
And I will never stop thinking about it.
No.
And I think about it every day.
None of us should stop thinking about it. What an epic event. And if you're ever standing in a fogged room and you don't put your hand on glass and pull it down, what is he doing?
Fuck you.
Fuck you. Oh, wow.
So I appreciate you being here. I mean, this is the most I've ever talked about it, and I appreciate
I
you
am
being
so
present.
honored to be sharing this space with you. And we will be posting videos of Tess and dates going on about Titanic because, I mean, find yourself something that you can be so passionate about.
Also, my friend was there at the date recording it, which is even a sadder. So everyone's like, what do you mean Tess on dates talking about this? You'll see. We will post it
We will.
on our social media.
We will.
But, fuck. Fuck, Claire.
My God, what a journey. Thank you so much.
And thank you. And, you know, we think about all the lives lost
Yes, we
and
do. We honor them.
and the heroes that saved those 706 people.
Absolutely. And we learn our lesson and can only hope for a better future.
We sure can.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Guys, thanks for tuning in.
Thank you so much. Let us know what stories you want to hear the history behind, because we'd love to know.
Yes, please do. And let us know your favorite little fun fact about the Titanic that you had never realized before.
We always want to know more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.
See you later.
Bye-bye.